All right, we're here. So today we are going to talk about Mandela effects and the potential of there maybe being parallel universes that has to do with that, and throw in some mimic talk. So I'm going to let you guys go ahead and take it away for a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I find it very interesting this subject because I in the field that I'm in, doing a lot of the energy work and a lot of channeling, doing things of that nature. I've come across where you feel you've jumped timelines, and I feel this constantly. When they always, the New Age community always would attribute it to portals and on certain events and certain times of year and all this other stuff. I don't completely buy that because I feel that everybody's jumping timelines all the time with every decision you're making. You're going from one to the next thing. And I've actually seen it in motion, the Mandela effect, the folding of timelines. There was one personally, and I'll make this as brief as I can. Everybody, I think, knows about, and I believe you two probably know about the PayPal, Nebraska, out there. I believe there was a PayPal building out there at one point. Um, and well, that doesn't surprise me. You would know about it because there was a Mandela effect thing that surrounded that specifically. A friend of mine used to work there, in fact, and when I would drive past there periodic, or I would ride past there, I would see a building that said PayPal on it out there. And for a while, I would look it up on the internet, and it said it was founded in La Vista, Nebraska, which now we all know that to not be true. I'm just saying that I remember seeing that on the internet. Then this friend of mine tried to she went out to the building and took a picture, and looked like there was nothing had ever been there, like no building had ever actually physically stood there except for this vacant lot, which they could have demolished a building, you don't know. But then I called PayPal for another reason, and out of curiosity, I questioned the person on the where PayPal was founded. And it was out in California, of course. But I said, not La Vista, Nebraska. No, we don't have a location out there, sir. And then here's the thing. It came back once too. It was back again, and then it disappeared again. So now we must be in a timeline where it's not there now, but because I haven't been able to locate it. But I personally have been inside the building. I knew somebody that worked there, and this person swears up and down they worked there, and it's gone. So I just thought that was a little odd, but everybody knows that it was founded out in California. But for a brief
Doesn't
period on,
doesn't Elon Musk own PayPal or something like that, or he
I
did?
think I think he's in the process of purchasing it actually, but I think. But yeah, I thought that was a little odd that that actually came up. My personal experiences with the Mandela effect was that where a building disappeared, reappeared, disappeared, reappeared. Yeah, it where you're in
Apparently, he
multiple.
was an investor.
Okay. So, but yeah, that was my personal experience with the Mandela, and I know from doing a lot of my channeling, a lot of my energy work and everything. I know when you're on. I know this sounds strange from somebody else's perspective. I know when I'm on a different trajectory, on a different timeline, because I know something feels different about the quantum reality you're in. Or if you've gotten hit with some kind of wave how can I put this? Wave of energy where you feel you're on a different trajectory. If I can just explain it that way.
You know,
I
that is interesting. Like I know what it feels like to feel how energy is off a little bit. I don't know if it's contributed to that, but I definitely know, you could feel energy can feel a little off. I don't know, Laura, what do you think?
uh,
Yeah, I mean, I've felt energy being off before and things being different. There have been times that I've woken up and everything appears to be somewhat the same, but then there's a lot of differences that are just not easily to ignore, I guess. Where I distinctly remember having certain conversations with people and you go to mention it to them again, or you say, "Oh, we've already had this discussion before," and then they think you're fucking crazy because, they're like, "We've never talked about this before," or "We've never," whatever. So
Mm.
yeah, no, I'm a firm believer in timeline jumping, dimension jumping, whatever.
Mhm.
I mentioned it off the air before, but I blame a lot of it with CERN. Um, CERN is the hydrogen collider that they have made out in um, it's not in Sweden. It is, where is it?
Switzerland.
Switzerland. Yeah, I was like, I feel like it's somewhere out there. And I knew somebody that was friends with somebody that works there, and they swore up and down, oh no, they're not turning it on, they're not turning it on, and then it comes out later, oh yeah, they turned it on. And I recently saw something where people in Switzerland were actually getting really upset because they quit mentioning to the public when they were turning it on. And I feel like it's because there's so many differences that are happening um, when when having it on and changing the timelines and the dimensions and making us all scatter about basically. Um, and so now it's just we all kind of feel like things are off and weird and don't know how else to explain it.
Um,
Mhm.
so something I just found while you guys were kind of talking, I'm gonna send you a link to a video if you want, Laura, or you, Chris. It don't matter.
Mhm.
This could be fake, this could not be, but this is supposedly a video of a guy showing, you know how like one of the most famous Mandela effects is the Bernstein Bears, right? How it's spelled.
Yes.
Now,
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
guy is supposedly showing an old book, Bernstein Bears book, and he's going into another room and it's changing live. And it shows on the video that is, now this could be fake, could not be, but if you guys want, we can show it. We can kind of check it
I've
out.
I've seen the video before. I know exactly which one you're talking about. Um, I know that his other videos are not like that at all. And people obviously, I mean, once again, a lot of things can be faked on the internet. You just don't know what's real and what isn't anymore. It's really hard to decipher it. However, there were quite a few comments in underneath the video or with the video where it it said that, no, I know this guy. He's a teacher, or something like that. And like he's not going to just make this stuff up.
Right,
Like
and I think
there's
that's an important distinction too. As a lot of some people know, I used to, I had a previous paranormal channel where my biggest thing was I would debunk, and one of the biggest things I looked at, well, what's their history? What's their post history? Did they post about this kind of stuff? Oh, they don't really normally post about paranormal. Okay, maybe there's something to their video then. If they post
Mhm.
about it
yeah,
a lot, like you saw that there's that one father and daughter combo that's all they post, and you can clearly tell, there's an important distinction there. Do you want me to send you the link? We can kind of check it out. So
yeah, we could definitely
Yeah.
play it.
all right,
Most definitely.
all right.
Now,
And then
do I
I
think?
did find
Hmm?
the top 20 Mandela effects of 2025. I thought maybe we could go through that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
That.
a yeah. If you want, it doesn't matter what order. We could do this real quick. It's like a
Do you
short.
mind sending it in our Discord? Because
Yeah, absolutely. I can do that.
I'm not on the other thing.
Hmm. One thing though, with it changing from room to room, I've actually some people mentally do this too. If there's a timeline switch, sometimes they'll forget why they've gone into a particular room too. That's a fairly common thing. Sometimes it's somebody being mind whammied. Sometimes it's because deja vu is also timeline interchanges as well. Some people have associated it with alien abduction too, but it's a lot of it is the timeline switching where like you've already done something in a particular reality and now you're intersecting a similar one and you're having a deja vu moment or a repeat loop or something of that nature. But I believe, yeah, you're correct, Laura, when you said it's about CERN. When they've delved into, or they went in and dove into these other dimensions and these other fractal timelines and everything, they pretty much unleashed hell on the timelines with that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
Yep.
I feel like they already opened up some type of uh, time loop or some kind of hole or something that I think just has slightly gotten larger and larger every time they turn the darn thing on. And
Yeah.
I just don't think that they fully understand how to close it or to take care of it. I did get that Berenstein Bear
Yeah.
or
I just want to
whatever
make a quick comment on that real quick. When you're dealing with quantum mechanics, like what they're screwing with, you're asking for disaster.
Oh, every time.
Right.
Every single time. The time travel projects, Montauk Project, Pegasus, look them all up. It's experimenting with other realities. They're opening Pandora's box with
Right.
that.
But yeah, we'll go ahead and check this.
You know, if you speak to anyone who has any pagan background whatsoever, also they will tell you that any doorway, any window is a potential for opening up to a doorway or a window to another dimension. You know, I think I've mentioned on here before, thoughts are things. So, you know, if the intent is there and you want to use your main door as a doorway to enter into another dimension, you can use your main door to initially walk into another dimension.
Right. Absolutely 100%.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and play this.
Okay.
This is the first video, Okay, yeah, this is weird. So, I just have to show you. I hung this thing up. I got it a long time ago. My cousin painted that picture. It used to be hanging over here. I've decided to move it over there. I put this over here just for the hell of it. I'm only bringing this up because until I had done those two things, things were normal inside of this room right here. So it's the night I did this, it was just a couple nights ago, that really weird stuff started to happen in that room, and things, I thought I was going crazy. I thought I was seeing stuff. So I'm doing this video so you guys can see, and I'm gonna show it to you live. This book, this is one of my nephew's books. It's just an old book. It's something my brother and I used to have growing up. And I started to look on the internet about this crap, and some weird stuff going on here with this name, Berenstain Bears. So I had this book, again, it's my nephew's, but I had this book in my closet from when they came over. I wanted to give it back to them. I planned on going out there to see them. And I dug it out, and I noticed that the Berenstain had said Berenstein in that room. But I come out here into just the normal other part of the house, and it says this. So just so you know I'm not crazy, I'm going to show you as I pass through this doorway what happens, and it's fucking weird. All right, it happens when it gets in the room. See it? And then back out here, normal. Yeah. What the fuck? Uh-huh. Yeah. And then normal. This just creeps me out, man. I don't even like to be in this room anymore. When I sleep in here, I mean, look at that. That shit is changing right there. Anyway, I just know something weird.
I'm gonna stop it there. That is the general basis of the video of him going back and forth. Now, one thing that I didn't notice, and I've seen this video multiple times, but one thing I just happened to notice this time around, as opposed to the last several times that I was watching it, is that at the bottom where it has the author's name, because the last name of the of the author is Berenstein, whatever. And it also changed in the video. He didn't show the bottom, but you can see it in some of the clip, and you can see it change just like at the top. And I mean, I'm still gonna play devil's advocate. Maybe it's possible that he's faking it all, but if he's faking it, he acknowledged that same name is at the bottom of the book and changed it along with the top of the book.
Right, and I would say that there's probably a lot of people that say they were faking it would probably miss that.
Mhm.
That's my first thought.
And you both know that, I've got a lot of editing in my background, right? I'm really good at being able to pinpoint when an edit happens. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, that one was hard for me. Like, I'm kind of divided on that one because that would be really hard to edit. Like, it would take way more effort to fake that than you might think.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it because he's holding the book, and for him to do a cut screen, he would have to keep that book in the same location.
Mm-hmm.
And
there was no cut. There was no obvious cut.
No. And not only that, like at the first couple times that he goes through, the video kind of blurs at that moment. But when he's up close, holding it up close to the camera, you can see it very clearly change, and it's very clear. And I guess like in any fake video that I've seen, I've never seen it do that before, where part of it is really blurry and then the other part isn't.
Right. Well, and the way it changed instantly like that, like, okay, if there was like a fade, I'd be like, yeah, that's really easy to kind of fade it, but that was an instant change. Like, your timing has to be perfect if you're going to edit that. There was no obvious cuts in the video. That one, as I would normally do on my previous paranormal channel, like, that one might be legit.
Yeah. What one thing though I think people would have missed on this, that knowing from doing like our GIC channel and our galactic historical stuff and everything, I know this doesn't always fit, but the image he had on the wall, the one that he said that when he put that image on the wall, that started happening when he said at the beginning of the video, that image is of the Ixodril tree, or the world tree. And from what I understand, that's representing the multiverse and essentially the multiple timelines. It's basically the void comes up through the center of the tree and creates all the realities. And people call that Hilheim in Norse mythology, but the Ixodril tree is essentially all of these timelines, and also branches out and creates 9 realms and everything. So with this, when he crosses that field...
I just was going to say, I guess I've always known it as the tree of life, as above, so below.
Well, there's that too. I found out there's 2 different things that people have interchanged the name, yes. But the version we found about is the one about the different timelines. And when he crosses the seal, and when he goes in the next room, that's like at the edge of another timeline, intersecting that vein or that energy meridian that goes through that room when it changes over to the other letter. And I noticed when he put that up, it automatically was changing when he crossed that seal. I thought that was actually quite interesting, because it could have gone like how a tree branch would, or a tree root, it would have run through a particular energy vein. He was crossing a root or a branch is what he was doing. And that, from what I understand it, but that picture has to do with the timelines. And that is very, very interesting that he happened to get that picture, then the activity was starting. I find that very synchronistic. And there would have been no way of knowing what we learned in our channelings. There would have been no way anybody would have known that if they hadn't looked at our stuff. So I find that very synchronistic that happened to be up that way and that picture happened to be there. That, and you were right about the letters changing over. It would have been really difficult to edit a fake like that. Extremely difficult to edit a fake. So I'm going to have to go with legit on that one, based on also the synchronistic imagery, and also based on the fact that would have been difficult to fake. Both of those.
And given the fact that, like Laura had mentioned before, you said that he doesn't really post stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, if I were, because it was a TikTok video, from what I remember before it was a YouTube video. And from what I can remember in the comments, people were saying like he's a teacher. He's just a typical guy. And I realize that there is a lot of editing equipment that you can purchase, and not really having that much knowledge about things like that. But it's so clear. It is so clear.
Yeah.
And from what I remember, also, like, none of his other videos were even remotely like
You're not I'm looking at the YouTube comments on that video, and other people have pointed out the fact that even the author's name changed, and it was barely even in frame. So if you're editing let's say you're making the video, right, and you're not going to really think about that because it's mostly out of frame.
But you would just be like, oh, people aren't going to pay attention to that,
right?
Now,
and we would, yeah. So
for for fine details, and I don't know. I mean, if it's a fake, it's a really damn good fake.
Right. And proud of it. Kudos to him for if he did fake that, because that's some good editing. Yeah. Damn good editing. Exactly. What's he doing being a teacher? Go work for Hollywood.
Exactly. All right. I don't know if you guys want me to go ahead and play the top 20 Mandela Effects for 2025.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
All right. Let me get it pulled up for everyone.
"20 Mandela Effects I've covered this year. But first, let's check out some really cool YouTube stats for 2025. This year, my channel all-time has gained 20,000 new subscribers.
Skip over that.
Here's a music Mandela effect for you. Okay. What was the color of Bruce Springsteen's bandana on the iconic cover of his 1984 album, Born in the USA? If you're picturing a red bandana tucked into the back of his jeans, you're not alone. That's how thousands of people very clearly remember it. But here's where things get weird. It's still red. It's just not a bandana anymore. If you look at the album cover today, you'll see that it is actually a red baseball cap stuffed into his back pocket. Actually, the more I look at this, how does it even stay there? Like, how is it positioned in his pants that it just hangs there? It looks like Photoshop, honestly, but nope, that's the real image now. This is one of those really...
I mean, I legit, feel like I remember a red bandana with the bandana, pattern and everything. What are you guys remembering?
I was definitely not making a habit of looking at another dude's ass, but I think I do remember it being a bandana.
I was actually going to say that, but you beat me to it. But yeah, I don't. I seem to remember a bandana versus a hat, but yeah, it does look out of place having a hat in his pocket like that. It seems really out of place. Yeah.
Really weird Mandela effects that makes you question everything. Because if you ask people who grew up with this album, people who own the physical copy of it, they'll swear it was a bandana and not a hat. And it's not just a few people here and there who are misremembering. There are countless discussions online where people insist this album cover has changed. Not only that, many claim they even remember specific details about the bandana, like its pattern or the way it's folded, and yet now it's a hat. Go check your copies, search online, it doesn't matter. They all show the same thing now, a red baseball cap. Is that what you remember?
I feel like it'd be very uncomfortable to have...
Let's talk avocados. Specifically, what is the correct spelling for these kinds of avocados? Is it H-A-S-S or is it H-A-A-S? Has avocado...
I know it's the
H-A-A-S. It's actually spelled H-A-S-S. Is that what you remember? Because if you got this one wrong, you aren't alone. Let's look into it. Apparently this berry, and yes, an avocado is a berry, was named after its creator Rudolf Haas back in 1926 and was patented in 1935. It was such a success that today, 85% of all avocados grown in the US are Haas avocados. So where did this naming discrepancy come from? That's the real mystery here, right? Because even today, you can still find it spelled as H-A-A-S, even though that's incorrect. For example, here's a bag of frozen avocados. Look at the name.
Yeah, I remember it being H-A-A-S, but
Yeah,
I
me
was
too.
gonna say, I bet you it's actually the other way. That's so funny.
I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
remember.
be completely honest. I'm not even familiar with this one, so I can't speak on it.
Oh, like I eat so many avocados, but yeah, that I don't know, that's wild to me.
Yeah, that is. I do remember HAAS, even though, again, like a Phantom, like you were saying, I'm not completely familiar with it. I am familiar with seeing the HAAS, though.
That is the now incorrect version. Huh? Or this digital checkout display at Walmart, showing again the wrong spelling. And that's not all. The now
Maybe-
incorrect spelling.
Okay, so maybe there is something to this. Maybe it actually has always been HASS, but all of these other like places have always just like misspelled it by doing a double A as opposed to an S, double S.
Mhm.
And so then the rest of us, that's how we have always assumed it was spelled.
That could
Yeah, 'cause
very
AM
well be.
Yeah, the A and the S are right next to each other on the keyboard, too. So, yeah.
Yeah.
The spelling that has apparently always been wrong has been used for decades and decades in newspaper promotions. In fact, if you search up the two different versions of the spelling on newspaper.com, the incorrect version, HAAS, comes up with 14,000 results, and the now correct version, HASS, gives us 53,000 results, meaning that's a lot of typos from a lot of different people for a really long time. Almost enough to make you think it changed or something. Call of Duty is one of the biggest franchises in the world, and one of the most popular titles in that franchise is Call of Duty Black Ops 2. I bring this up today because there's apparently a new Mandela Effect going around in regards to its box art. So here's that artwork. I'm going to give you a second to look it over and see if everything looks as you might remember it. The detail that is seemingly freaking out so many people is that there is now a knife in one of his hands instead of another gun. Now, if
Wait
you
a
didn't put in
minute.
hundreds of hours into this game,
Pause
I can
that.
understand why it doesn't.
No, he had another gun. I had that game. Wait a minute. Hold
I
on.
have that game,
Hold on.
too.
I still have the copy. Hold on. Where is it? Hold on.
Yeah, I had that game, too. I distinctly remember a gun. Yeah, not a knife. Yeah.
You have got to be shitting me. It's a knife on my cover.
Then it changed along. Then
No,
you
that
jumped.
That
Your
was a
copy
gun. He had two guns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I always thought it was two guns as well, but
Wow. Okay. Yeah, you can go
I
ahead.
had that same copy. I had that same copy. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead and keep playing. Wow, this is freaking me out.
Doesn't seem that shocking.
I like that these are new Mandelas
This is an
that I've
insane
never heard of.
change. That knife was never there before. I mean, this game came out over a decade ago, so it's pretty insane that this detail is only now just being noticed. This bizarre discrepancy between memory and reality has led many to say this is a Mandela effect. I even showed it to a friend of mine that plays these games every single year, and even he said, that's not the original box art. Besides the multiple threads online of people talking about this, there's also articles being written about it, like this one. That's how big of a deal this is. Remember, these games sell tens of millions of copies. There are so many people who bought and played this game that a change to the cover like this is bound to make you scratch your head. Just think about it. You've played this game for months on end, and now something extremely familiar to you is different. And every shred of evidence proving what you remember now doesn't exist. That's why the Mandela effect is so fascinating. It only takes one effect to affect you. And when it does, it hits hard. What do you remember?
No, it was two guns.
The Lincoln Memorial is
Yep.
one of the most iconic monuments in the United States. Since 1922, Lincoln has rested prominently in the National Mall in Washington, D.C. This massive statue is 19 feet tall and weighs over 175 tons. It's even been featured in a bunch of movies and TV shows, and was even the backdrop to Martin Luther King Jr.'s famous I Have a Dream speech. Needless to say, it's a very well-known statue and work of art. I've even been there myself, and it's pretty incredible to look up at. I bring all this up today because many people believe that this statue has changed, specifically Abraham Lincoln's hands. Here is what many people remember. Both hands were symmetrical, calmly resting palm down on the arms of his chair, almost as if he was going to use his hands to lift himself up.
Yep.
This is what so many people seem to remember, but as of now, that's not the case.
What?
His right hand is still relaxed, but his left hand is now a closed fist. Which one of these do you remember? Both being relaxed, or one relaxed and one closed?
I do not remember.
Unfortunately, don't remember what it looked like when I saw it, because we were too busy dealing with a duck that had flown straight into the outer wall of the memorial and crashed to the ground. It thankfully survived, but was pretty confused for a bit. It was such a crazy thing to see, because it looked like the duck did it intentionally. Just random traumatizing things in DC. It's amazing though, that memory basically took over that part of our trip in DC. I really should have taken more photos. Anyway, let me know what you think. I've seen quite a few people arguing it's changed, so I really want to hear some new and fresh perspectives.
Interesting.
Let's talk about Payless, the shoe company that was started.
Yeah, I remember it both
both
because I've seen it. I've been to the Lincoln Memorial, so I remember seeing them both resting on the arms, not a fist on one of them.
I've been there too, and I remember both hands resting. I don't remember the fist at all.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't either.
interesting. Yeah.
I've never seen it in real life, but yeah, I don't ever remember a fist.
I'll have to look at my photographs of it that we took. when we
Yeah,
were
you
there.
definitely should, for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of exists, at least online, and in some other countries outside of the US. But inside the US, it's completely dead in terms of retail stores after it went bankrupt for a second time. The Mandela Effect I bring up today is in regards to its name. Many people remember its name being Payless Shoes. Others remember it being Payless Shoe Store. I've always been on team Payless Shoes, but to the surprise of many, myself included, it turns out its actual name was Payless Shoe Source. Shoe Source being one word, for some reason. Well, funny enough, in its last dying days as a retail store in the US, it tried to rebrand itself as simply Payless. But that obviously wasn't enough to save its retail presence. So where do you stand on this one? Do you remember Payless? Payless Shoe Source? Payless Shoe Store? It seems like everyone has a different opinion on this, so let me hear yours.
I distinctly remember like sitting in front of one of those stores and it just saying Payless Shoes.
Yeah, no.
No
too.
source.
So I distinctly remember that because I remember I had a girlfriend that worked at the one by the Walmart, and I was there to pick her up. And I remember I was just kind of staring at the store, and I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, it says shoes," because I was just called it Payless. But I distinctly remember
Yeah.
seeing the shoes, just the shoes, not shoe source. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, I just remember
Mhm.
shoes. I remember going into a couple to actually get shoes when I was younger, and it said Payless Shoes. Yeah, definitely.
Here's a quick Mandela Effect for you. Let's talk about the 1999 movie The Matrix, specifically the character of Agent Smith. There is a visual detail about this character, and it's got a lot of people talking. What's that detail? Take a look at this image and see if something stands out to you. How about this one? What a bunch of people online are talking about is his tie clip. Many people don't remember Agent Smith having that in any of the Matrix movies. And I'll be honest, it's kind of weird looking to me. I keep looking up images and clips of this movie, and it really does stand out. So what do you think? Is this just a detail no one really noticed before? Or are these people correct and something has changed?
You guys think? I don't know. I mean, it does kind of stand out in a weird way.
It does. I mean, I'm gonna say it probably has always been there. We just never paid attention to it.
I
'Cause
never
we
paid
were too
attention
busy
to that.
watching them fight. Like, I mean, let's be real. Were you? I mean, yeah, it stands out if it's being pointed out. But if you were watching that movie back then, were you really paying that much attention?
No,
No.
I never really paid attention to this one.
So I'm gonna
No.
say I'm on the aisle of it's probably always been there. We just didn't notice it.
Yeah, agreed.
Do you remember the movie The Parent Trap? And not the original one, the 1998 Disney remake of it, starring Lindsay Lohan? There's a part in this movie that seems small, but has caused a lot of debate online. It's the ear-piercing scene. A lot of people online vividly remember a lemon slice being used behind her ear during the piercing scene.
That was
But if you
potato.
watch the movie now, it's an apple slice.
Oh, okay.
There are multiple threads, forum posts, and tweets about this specific scene and how people remember it being a lemon versus an apple. While researching this Mandela effect and digging in deeper, what I found really interesting is that this isn't just a US Mandela effect. There are also posts from people in Spanish-speaking countries remembering this as well, which I find pretty interesting. Usually it's one way or the other. It's one country remembers this, one country remembers that. It's really good when multiple countries remember it, because then it transcends languages. That's kind of interesting when a Mandela effect does that. It's like, oh, this one is affecting a lot of people. So why do some people remember a lemon slice instead of an apple slice? That's the mystery, and that's what makes it a Mandela effect. The idea was to have some kind of backing behind the ear, so the needle wouldn't just poke through and stab her in the neck. A lemon slice? Well, that probably would have made it sting really bad. Lemon juice in an open wound? Yeah, ouch. And an apple slice is just sturdy enough to catch the needle. So if you watch this movie growing up, what do you remember?
See, I didn't
Many
really
people
watch
remember
that
the mascot
movie.
of Monopoly.
Yeah, me neither. So I don't really have an opinion on it because I never really
Yeah,
watched
I
it.
don't
saw
have a.
the-
I definitely don't have
No.
a dog in that fight.
No, me neither.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a lot of movies they usually use a potato, so I didn't even think about an apple.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
didn't. Yeah.
My first thought with the lemon would be that's gonna hurt really bad.
Yeah, that would hurt really bad, actually. That would not be my first choice if I was doing that. No.
No, and not only that, it's not going to be solid enough to catch the needle either.
Right.
No. An apple would, yeah.
having a monocle. Unfortunately, there isn't any evidence to support this theory. This detail has been referenced in countless movies, books, and media, but doesn't actually exist. None of the Monopoly games ever made had Mr. Monopoly wearing a monocle. That is, until this one was found. Enter Monopoly Jr. from 1994. This seemingly random Monopoly set actually has Mr. Monopoly, rich Uncle Pennybags himself, wearing a monocle on the $2 bill. Oddly enough, he isn't wearing that monocle on the box, in the manual, or any of the other money, just specifically the $2 bill. So yes, Mr. Monopoly does, at least in this very specific instance, wear a monocle.
Huh.
But is this honestly the reason so many people remember it? I, for one, never had this Monopoly set.
They forgot
I
the
grew up only
$2
playing
bill
with
when
my
they
grandma's
changed
set from
it.
the 70s, a Pokemon Monopoly and a Looney Tunes Monopoly.
Yeah, I mean, I've never played the junior edition, so
I never did either, and I still remember a monocle.
I still
It's-
remember
I
a
do
monocle.
too.
as well.
It's like I was telling you guys before the show when we were, when I was at my mom's for Christmas, and there's an old Monopoly game still down there, and I distinctly remembering it, him having the monocle on that box, and I looked, and sure enough, it's not there now, but I distinctly remember it being there.
Really weird.
Oh yeah, I feel like when someone jumps timelines, if they had an object that was from that timeline, they remember that, then the object that they have now is from the timeline they're sitting in, not necessarily the one they were in. So it's not going to match what they remember unless they somehow brought the object with them. Just like you saw in that other video where it was changing from timeline to timeline, it was matching whatever the frequency of that timeline was.
Yeah.
Monopoly. No monocle in sight, and yet I remember this so strongly. Funny enough, Monopoly, Pokemon, and Looney Tunes all have Mandela effects. Interesting, huh? Here's a quick Mandela effect regarding a UK band who was around from 1982 and disbanded in 2012. Who are they? Well, I'll give you a hint. Their biggest hit was called Tub Thumping.
Good song.
If that song sounds familiar to you, you've probably already thought of what the band's name is. Is it Chumbawamba? Or is it Chumbawamba? Okay, this one is
Chumbawamba.
tricky. Many people seem to believe
Chumbawamba,
that the
yeah.
band is called Chumbawamba. And those people are shockingly incorrect. It turns out that the band is called Chumbawamba, with an A instead of a U.
What?
I know. Hearing this, it feels like you got knocked down, but you'll get up again. We'll get through this. For
I
some
mean, I
strange
wonder.
reason, many people have been mispronouncing their name for decades. In articles, in
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder if it's just been a mispronunciation the whole time.
That would,
But this is really weird. I saw that we have a Sirius XM subscription for the car, and I see it on there all the time saying Chumbawamba with a U when it comes up on the radio.
Sure.
Yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I never really paid attention to the band that did the song, but I did know the song. So
Yeah, I knew the song, and I've always known it as Chumbawamba. That is very interesting. But on the radio, even recently, popped up with a U.
All right. Let's see here. I was hoping to maybe pull through.
It says Chumbawamba on it, and underneath it, it says Chumbawamba. I get it. Mistakes happen, errors happen, misspoken words and misspelled names happen. It's natural. But it makes me wonder why so many people all came to the same wrong conclusion. That's what really throws me off and is honestly one of my favorite details regarding the Mandela Effect. It's like huge swaths of people are all wrong, but in the exact same way. Is it just incredibly similar thinking patterns that led us all to the same wrong? The Mandela Effect can seemingly change anything. Logos, artwork, and names are definitely troubling and weird, but when history gets changed or seemingly altered, that's the stuff that freaks me out the most. When so many people remember something one way, or history playing out a specific way, and now they're wrong, that's when it isn't such a funny thing anymore. So let me ask you, when was the first fax from a fax machine ever sent? I'm sure some of you are unfamiliar with this bit of trivia, and if that's the case, give me your best guess.
I've
The
heard
way
of it
history has played
before.
out
I have
is that in
no idea.
1964, the modern-day fax machine was patented by Xerox, and the rest is history. In 1974, it apparently took 3 minutes to send a single-page fax. And by 1982, the average fax machine cost $20,000. So what's the historical Mandela Effect? What happened? What changed? Well, in 1924, they were already sending fax messages, and it took 6 minutes for them to send. 1924 doesn't sound right, does it? Well, it gets weirder. That same year, in 1924, they were sending color photos
What?
through fax. And in
What?
fact, the ability to send photos over fax long distance was actually invented in 1888. Oh, but I'm
Hmm.
No way. No way.
That's interesting. Of how that there was that big of a discrepancy in the Mandela effects. It doesn't surprise me to a point because given the fact they've done these time travel projects, they activated CERN a number of times. Of course, that would arc back through the timeline if they're screwing with that too much. There was, cause and effect. So I could see how that would happen. There's also a number, like I said, a number of time travel projects where things were planted in the back. If you look at Montauk and Pegasus, I can see how that would happen because there's been artifacts planted in the past too through those projects. If you buy into that, but yeah, this particular one I didn't know about, but it surprises me. But yet it doesn't, knowing what I know about the other things.
I think the shocking part for me is that they were sending color pictures.
Yeah, that's the part that I can't wrap my head around.
And the fact they can't, they're just starting to really do that now again, and it's just like, okay, well, if they could do it then, why couldn't it be much better, now? Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm going to dig into this one a little deeper. That's interesting. But
Yeah.
we can continue on.
I'm not done. That's for long distance. The ability to fax photos over short distances was invented in 1880. And finally, the grand finale, the mechanical fax, also known as the electric printing telegraph, was invented in 1843 by Alexander Bain. So not 1964, 1843, 120 years earlier than previously thought. So the first fax machine was created and the first fax was sent in 1843. Is that the history you remember learning?
No.
Here's a
No.
little bonus segment I wanted to talk to you all about. Do you remember Domino's having a stuffed crust pizza? Apparently a lot of people remember this. I looked into this over the last few days, and while the UK has a stuffed crust pizza, the United States of America never has. Until now. Check out this ad I recently got.
Many people swear they've had stuffed crust pizza from Domino's before, so we invited some of them to a little taste test.
That is the Domino's stuffed crust that you've said you've had in the past.
Where's the pizza?
Domino's has never made a stuffed crust pizza before.
I'm at a loss for words.
Until now, that is. Introducing Domino's first ever stuffed crust pizza. At long last, Domino's is introducing stuffed crust pizza. That's right, our first ever. And it's stuffed with melty cheese.
Weird, right? So I'm not claiming this is a Mandela effect, but it's got the possibility of becoming one if enough people remember this existing. So what's your take on all this? I'm seeing so much chatter online about this, I just had to mention it.
So the first stuffed crust pizza I remember was from Pizza Hut, not Domino's.
That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I think it was like Little Caesars.
Yeah. Could people be mixing that up? Yes. I distinctly remember Domino's having it though, as well as the other two. But because I remember eating it, so yeah, I've had all three. So I also could see how people could have screwed that up. But if I hadn't had it before, I would have thought it was just somebody remembering it wrong. But I've actually had it, and it was before they say they made it.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I've never had stuffed crust from Domino's at all. So, but Pizza Hut, I have.
Oh yeah, plenty of times. Yeah.
All right.
All right, this next one looks like it's from SNL.
I'm sure you've heard
Interesting.
the phrase Debbie Downer before, right? It's a common expression that's been around forever to describe a negative, pessimistic person. Someone who is constantly bringing down the mood of a group with negative comments or a pessimistic outlook, which often ruins the fun or enthusiasm of others. You'll be out with friends and one of them always has something negative to say. There's always a problem, there's always a situation. Come on, stop being such a Debbie Downer. Well, what if I told you that this phrase was actually relatively new? In fact, so new that it didn't exist before 2004.
What?
At least,
No.
that's what we're told to believe. It
No.
turns out this phrase hasn't been around forever, as a lot of you probably believed. But as it goes now, this phrase came from a Saturday Night Live sketch from 2004, but many online swear that it existed before that. Now, there are many people that remember using this phrase long before 2004. Some claim that it was back in the 90s, some claim even earlier, some even recalling it as a common slang term. Diving deeper, there is nothing online regarding its existence before 2004, which is deeply unsettling to many. I found many instances for negative Nancy, negative.
Okay, so first of all, of course there isn't going to be prior to that. The internet was still in its infancy even back in the 80s, but I remember saying it way back then. That's not
yeah.
recent.
Yeah, I remember it in the 80s.
Yeah,
so,
I myself have said that myself back in the 80s and 90s.
Me too. Me too. Interesting.
All right, apparently there is a North Star Mandela Effect. We'll watch that
Here's
one.
a Mandela Effect that stopped me dead in my tracks. And not just me, everyone I've asked about it. I think it's pretty safe to assume we all know about the North Star, the biggest and brightest star in the night sky. It's always pointing north, so if you're ever lost, you can follow it and use it as a guide. The reason why the North Star guides us north is because it's located directly above the Earth's northern axis, which makes it appear fixed in the sky, while all other stars rotate around it. Pretty amazing, right? Obviously, we've all heard of this before, but what if I told you that one of those details is horribly incorrect now? What detail? Well, that's the Mandela Effect.
It's
Apparently,
not.
the North Star isn't the brightest anymore. And I don't mean like 1 or 2 stars are brighter. The North Star is now the 48th or 49th brightest star in the night sky, meaning it's not even special anymore. The brightest star in the night sky is now Sirius, the memory that so many of us shared. The whole brightest star in the sky at night that you can follow north is now just a star you can follow north.
Okay, but you know, there's also some scientific stuff for that too, because we're seeing the light from the star, you know, being reflected back to us from the sun bouncing off of the star or whatnot. And so it is possible that it's getting dimmer. I mean, I wouldn't think that it would be getting dimmer that quickly, but I don't know. I don't follow this type of scientific stuff quite that closely, so I guess I don't find it that weird. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't really find it that off-putting. I mean, I'm kind of with you on that. That's kind of what I was thinking when he was talking about it. Was, you know, it probably would get dimmer over time.
Yeah, and the distance, of relativity, it could be slowly burning out, and we would not know this because of the time lag. We could be seeing something that happened an extremely long time ago, and it's dimming from our eyes and from our equipment and everything. But it could have happened an extremely long time ago. Now it is relatively dimmer than say Sirius. So
Well,
Sirius.
the other thing we have to realize is that there's also a real thing of light pollution, and as technology has advanced, things are a lot brighter now within cities and even in some remote areas, it's a lot brighter than it would have been 50 to 100 years ago. So
Right.
that's going to affect the way that our eyes perceive the light coming from the star as well.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
Here's a crazy new Mandela effect that's been gaining steam online. It comes from the long since ended but still popular show Parks and Rec. It's actually a funny scene from episode 5 of season 2, where Fred Armisen guest stars and says a line that is still quoted by many people to this day. What's the line? It's straight to jail, or straight to jail, as he likes to say. Over the years, I've even jokingly used this line from time to time, but as it turns out, as all good Mandela effects do, he never said that. That line was never said in Parks and Rec. Here's the scene.
This is outrageous. Where are the armed men who come in to take the protesters away? Where are they? This kind of behavior is never tolerated in Boracua. You shout like that, they put you in jail right away. No trial, no nothing. Journalists, we have a special jail for journalists. You're stealing, right to jail. You're playing music too loud, right to jail, right away.
Right
The way
to
that so many
jail.
people remember this scene is that right after each funny interaction, he would say, straight to jail. But now it's right to jail. What's troubling to me, if the scene hadn't become such a meme, I would have accepted it as maybe we're all just misremembering it. But so many people online swear that it was straight to jail. In my research for this one, I found an interesting post on Reddit from 6 years ago that showed someone saying in the title of the post, straight to jail. But the meme that they literally shared said right to jail. Fair enough, maybe it was a mistake. But then comment after comment underneath it on that post kept saying straight to jail. It's like reality changed for the meme, but not for the comments or the post's title. If it didn't make me...
I don't know. Did you guys ever watch Parks and Rec?
No, I never did watch that one.
Right. No.
I really liked it. I thought he said straight to jail, but it might be right to jail. I don't know.
Interesting though how the meme was right though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was right. Yeah. That was interesting.
sound crazy, I might say someone or something updated all this random stuff online. Not claiming that, but sometimes it sure seems like it, right? This is kind of a tangent, but my go-to movies that I can quote a stupid amount of lines from are The Last Samurai and Jurassic Park. Why? I have no idea. Some movies just stick with you. So the day those movies start getting some Mandela effects about them, I'm going to personally start throwing people straight to jail. The Mandela Effect is so incredible because it can alter things in so many different ways. Sometimes it changes something you know, sometimes it deletes something you remember, and sometimes it adds history where we don't remember it existing. Just as something can be subtracted or substituted, it can also be added to. Today, I'm talking about one such historical example: 3D printing, a marvel of modern technology. 3D printing is defined as the process of making a physical object by laying down many thin layers of a material in succession. The first documented iterations of 3D printing can be traced back to 1981 in Japan, and the first commercial 3D printer released in the late 1980s. Today we even have 3D printed homes and buildings, which are strong, fireproof, and considerably less expensive to build than traditional houses. This technology has grown and evolved over the years, but its historical record has been set in stone. Or at least that's what we've been told. The earliest example of the concept of 3D printing was a short story in 1945 called Things Pass By. But that was just a concept. It was a fictionalized idea of what the far future could hold, and today we know it as 3D printing. Well, what if I told you that 3D printing actually already existed at this point in time? In fact, it had already been around for over a decade at that point. Does that sound right to you? In the 1930s, inventor William E. Herschel developed the wall building machine, a revolutionary device that could automatically pour, shape, and layer concrete, closely resembling modern 3D printing techniques. His machine used a gripper arm and mortar sprayer to precisely place concrete, and then compress the concrete between spinning discs, smoothing and solidifying each layer, just like how modern 3D printers create layers in plastic or resin. The end result are buildings constructed layer by layer, quickly, efficiently, and accurately. William Herschel even went on to found Herschel Laboratories, which is a company still in business today. I'm sure all of this sounds very familiar, right? How is it that most people believe 3D printing only emerged in the late 20th century, when a machine in the 1930s was already doing the same thing? This is nearly 100 years ago. My mind is absolutely blown away. How is it that the first real 3D printer was forgotten? Could this be another example?
So I don't think it was necessarily forgotten. I just think that we have to remind ourselves that, like you said, Phantom, the internet has only been a thing for a very short amount of time, you know? Um, so I guess this isn't really a Mandela effect for myself. I don't know. How do you guys feel about
I
it?
think it's just this piece of maybe forgotten history we're just now learning about.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah,
with
that's
you.
what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah, some people forget history really, really quickly. You know, it's a proof of that is modern day people have like 3 second goldfish memories. You know, they have to see videos that are shorter now. They can't tolerate longer videos. How do they remember history, such as the original 3D printer? They're not going to if all their minds are set on is just short little blips like that. They're not going to know anything outside of the internet. And also, people generally don't know what goes on outside of this country sometimes, too. They're only paying attention to their own little bubble. Or even a cultural bubble, or even a preference bubble. So, yeah, some people just wouldn't have recognized that because it's just probably either not their thing or they wouldn't have really thought about it.
True, very fair point. Fair point.
Mm.
Definitely.
Let's talk America. If I was to ask you, what is the national bird? What would you say? If I read your mind correctly, you said it's the bald eagle, and you'd be correct. So what is the Mandela effect here? Well, what if I told you it only recently became the national bird of the US? In fact, in December 2024, it became the national bird.
What?
December 2024. Does that sound right to you? Because
No.
if not, you aren't alone. In fact, numerous articles just like this one have been written about this strange development. Let's try to make sense of this all by looking at the facts. The bald eagle has been on national emblems and even used as the Great Seal of the US on official documents since 1782, meaning it's been a symbol for the US for a long time, but it's never been the national bird of the US. In fact, it was almost hunted to extinction before legal protections were put in place in the 1940s to protect them. The bald eagle is the symbol of America. I mean, we even have official state birds for all 50 US states, but somehow the bald eagle has never been the national bird, if you can believe it. It's taken nearly 250 years to apparently get to the place we all thought we were already at, but it's official now. Is this exactly what you remember, or has something changed? Also, fun fact, founding father Benjamin Franklin actually objected to the bald eagle being chosen to represent the US, calling it a, quote, bird of bad moral character, end quote. That's so great, I had no idea.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious what it was then beforehand.
Maybe we just
Yeah.
didn't have it. Maybe they just never made it official. And then someone's like, you know, we should probably make this official.
Yeah. That
Maybe.
or I found out the bird that was actually going to be chosen before the eagle was chosen for the national symbol was the phoenix. And then Benjamin Franklin and them then eventually decided on the eagle because they figured the phoenix was fictional, so they wanted something more solid, more tangible, more real. So they decided on the eagle. But yeah, I distinctly remember that being the national bird, and that coming up in 2024. That's news to me. But could they have just not put it there? Yeah.
And I kind of vaguely remember, I feel like, learning that they had even thought about the turkey being the
Mhm.
national bird.
Mhm.
I would have supported that decision. That would have been great.
Yeah, that would have actually.
But anyway,
Mario Kart is a video game series that isn't new to the Mandela Effect. I previously talked about Mario Kart back in Brand New Mandela Effects Part 16. But today I'm talking about a new Mandela Effect for the series that blows that one out of the water. And that was a pretty good one. I'm going to show you some images on screen, and I want you to tell me what they are. What's this called in Mario games? That's right, a green shell. And this one? You got it, a red shell. Now what about this one? If you said blue shell, well, blue shell has apparently never been its name. This has never been called a blue shell. It's actually called a spiny shell, apparently. In Mario Kart, when you're driving, if you're in first place, there's a special item that is targeted at you, and it is the blue shell. It hunts you down, and it blows you up so that other people can pass you. It's a way for the people in behind to catch up with the people in front. Anyone that has played Mario Kart before knows this, and probably calls it the blue shell, because that's what it is. That's what we've always known it as.
Blue shell!
Now, if you're like me, or one of the other tens of millions of people who have played Mario Kart at this point, that doesn't sound right. Everyone calls this the blue shell. This one bothered me so much that I went and asked all of my friends, because I've played Mario Kart with all of these people. I said, what is this called? Everyone calls it the blue shell. At least everyone I've ever played Mario Kart with over the years. But apparently it's never once been called that officially. And this one really freaks me out, because I remember this. It's the blue shell. You know, you never want to get hit by a blue shell. In my research to prove this wrong, or find residue that it's actually called the blue shell somewhere, I came across a video by a creator named A Gamer's Basement that tackled this research better than I ever could, so I'll let him explain.
Let's check all the game manuals to see if this was ever called the blue shell. This is the first game this item was introduced in, and it's called the Spiny Shell. On to Super Circuit for the GBA, and in this game, this item was called the Spiny Shell. Up next is Double Dash. This was the first game this item had wings, and it's called the Spiny Shell. Mario Kart DS, of which this item is called Spiny Shell. Mario Kart Wii, and this item is called Spiny Shell. Mario Kart 7 for the 3DS is where things get a little interesting. In this game, the item is called Spiny Shell.
As you can see, it's never been called a blue shell, despite calling it that for decades, despite everyone I know calling it that, despite it being talked about online as a blue shell forever. That's not its name. Green shell, red shell, and the spiny shell. Right. I guess myself and many, many others have been calling it the wrong thing for decades. That, or it's a Mandela Effect. What do you think? Let's check out an interesting update to an older Mandela Effect that I've never covered before. Let's talk about the Ford logo. Many people don't remember the Ford logo having this strange curl at the end of the F. You can see it right here.
I do.
But officially, it's always been there. This weird detail has been talked about and debated over for a really long time. People swear the swirl used to exist. Some will say, hey, look at this Ford key, it doesn't have a swirl. And then others will say, well, look at this Ford key, it does have a swirl. The argument goes back and forth, and they've talked about this for over a decade. Officially, and by that I mean Ford, the company, swears that the swirl has always been there, while others who remember differently have argued it hasn't. They even point to the signature of Henry Ford himself as proof that the swirl was not originally there. And hey, that's a pretty compelling argument. The Ford logo is indeed based off of Henry Ford's signature, and there isn't a swirl there. So now that you're caught up, let's check out today's update. Recently, I was doing some digging on this topic, and I found a thread talking about classic Ford wrenches. You see, back in the day, and when I say that, I mean over 100 years ago, when you bought a car, they gave you the
What do you guys think about that?
You know, I don't know if I remember the swirl. I think I remember it always being in a straight line.
Yeah, I never remembered the swirl. And with the blue shell thing, I remembered it being called blue shell myself. So with both of those.
Okay, so with the blue shell thing, I think that I mean, I always call it a blue shell, but I don't think it's a Mandela effect. I think, you know, as gamers, we just kind of call things whatever we want sometimes, regardless of what the manual says. So I think that's just what people called it.
Yeah, it just stuck as a nickname. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with the Ford thing, though. I don't remember the swirl on it ever.
I mean, I remember it both ways, where I remember it with and without, but I don't know.
Interesting.
Anyway.
Sometimes an animal appears different from how you remember it. And today I have an amazing new example for you. This Mandela Effect is about a shocking change to a number of lizards. I heard someone talking recently about how some lizards actually have a third eye. Now, this sounded ridiculous until I looked it up, and somehow, yes, a bunch of lizards, frogs, salamanders, fish, and even some sharks have a third eye, like a literal third eye on their head. Wait, are we joking here? I'm completely blown away by this. So I started doing more research, and yes, fans of the Mandela Effect have indeed talked about this before and are as shocked as I am. So it's not just me, there's a lot of us. And I'm sure some of you are thinking, wait, what? Just look at this lizard. Since when has that been there? I'm taking a shot in the dark here, but I'm sure some reptile enthusiast out there has heard of this before. But what about the rest of you? When I was a teenager, I actually owned 2 iguanas as pets for years, Neo and Neon, a boy and a girl. Now I fed, pet, and played with these iguanas every day. I can still distinctly remember the feeling of their head, the texture, what it looked like. So this is pretty shocking. If it had a third eye, I'm sure I would have noticed. So I looked it up and yeah, iguanas apparently have a third eye as well. Not quite as developed as some of the other lizards, but still, I guess I just never noticed it when I rubbed their heads. This third eye is called the parietal eye, and it sits on top of the head. It's apparently photoreceptive and helps to regulate its circadian rhythm and hormone production for thermoregulation. Put simply, it helps to regulate its body temperature and tells it when to go to bed and wake up. Have you ever seen or noticed this before? Would you consider this a Mandela Effect change? Or is this a totally normal thing that tons of us just never noticed until now? I'm still shocked by this one. Mandela Effect or not, this is just amazing. Before we get to number
Never
one,
once
I will
knew
say
that.
there is an honorable mention.
Yeah, I never knew that myself. So I never knew that myself. Unless they developed it in recent days and just they never had it. But yeah, I've never noticed that on any lizards. I've actually been around lizards before, and yeah, I've never noticed that. But it could be just something somebody easily missed and didn't think of that as an eye.
I mean, it
too.
could also be a form of evolution.
Yeah, exactly. Or thanks to nuclear fusion too. They always joke about things growing new eyes and new legs and crap like that too. But yeah, that could be very well be a form of evolution where they're just growing a different eye sensor on their head. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Gross.
Check it out. How many versions of the Ten Commandments are there? If you're like most people, you're probably thinking just one, right? After all, they're called the 10 Commandments, not the 20 Commandments. But what if I told you that's not the case? In fact, there are two completely different sets of 10 Commandments in the Bible. And here's the strange part. In Exodus 34:28, the Bible itself calls the lesser-known version of the two the actual 10 Commandments. So the ones you think you know, well, those aren't the 10 Commandments. Let me explain. The famous commandments, the ones you probably already know about, those are in Exodus 20. You know them: don't steal, don't kill, honor your mother and father, the list goes on. But here's the way it goes now. After Moses smashed the first set of tablets, in anger over the golden calf incident, he returned to Mount Sinai and received a new set of commandments. Only they were completely different. Instead of moral laws like he was given the first time before he broke those tablets, these new ones were ritualistic rules about sacrifice, feasts, and food preparation. Here are those verses. Now, it's very wordy, so I'll break down what each one is essentially saying. 1. Thou shalt worship no other God, for the Lord whose name is jealous is a jealous God. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that this one was actually covered in my Bible Mandela Effects video, because many people don't actually remember the Bible saying what God's name is. It's apparently jealous. So this is just doubling down on that new Mandela Effect. It's always fun how these Mandela Effects are always so connected. Number 2, don't make any golden idols. Number 3, celebrate the pita bread festival. Number 4, every firstborn son must be sacrificed to God. Oh. Number 5, never go to church without an offering. Number 6, always observe the Sabbath. Number 7, celebrate the festival of weeks and the festivals of ingathering. 8, do not offer a blood sacrifice with anything made with yeast. And don't leave any Passover sacrifice until morning. Number 9, bring the best fruits as offerings. And finally, number 10, do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. Everyone remembers
That's
these,
an
right?
oddly specific
Yeah?
one.
No?
Yeah.
And here's where it somehow gets even weirder. In Exodus 34:28, the Bible explicitly refers to these as the 10 Commandments. Let that sink in for a second. The book that introduced the 10 Commandments to the world calls this obscure, lesser-known version the real 10 Commandments, yet almost no one remembers ever being taught this. And here's the thing, it's not hidden in some obscure text, it's right there in plain sight. But somehow it slipped through the cracks of history? So what do you think? Have these always been the real 10 Commandments? Everyone has heard of the original 10, but seemingly no one knows about the ones the Bible actually calls the 10 Commandments. Yet again, it feels like history is being quietly updated in the background.
So, I mean, without getting too deep into like any religion things, there are so many versions of the Bible out there that it's pretty easy to, I don't want to say debunk this, but initially to debunk it. So much text has been taken away and added to the Bible in different, depending on what context it's supposed to be in, that I guess it's not totally shocking to me. It's a little shocking, I do remember hearing about some of these, but I don't remember. I guess I don't remember it in the detail that they're explaining it.
I mean, and as that, and along with that, I'm with you on that too, Laura. A lot of people, when it comes to the Bible, will just kind of pick and choose out of the Bible what they're going to follow anyway. So it probably just slipped through the cracks. It's probably always been there. There's just people ignored it.
Yeah, not everybody's really a Bible scholar. They think they are. They think they think they've heard something in the Bible they like to quote Jesus with, and it's really like somebody, someplace, section like Deuteronomy or Leviticus or something like that. They think they're quoting New Testament when it's really Old Testament. You'll find 9 times out of 10 people are not paying attention to what they're quoting from the Bible at all. They just know they heard it somewhere, especially if they've been around church a lot. They don't really do the due diligence and research. So I don't think this is a Mandela effect either. I just think people weren't paying attention to it until recently.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And all of us are left to scratch our heads. How is it that the Bible itself calls these unfamiliar commandments? How do you pronounce this chocolate brand? If you said Ghirardelli, you're not alone. A lot of people remember it that way. But apparently you, me, and everyone else have been wrong this entire time. According to the company that manufactures this chocolate, it's actually pronounced Ghirardelli, like gee whiz. Because here is the actual...
Okay. Once again, I feel like that's just an American thing. Like, we actually have been pronouncing, what are those tennis shoes? Oh my God, now my brain's gonna falter. Adidas. We pronounce it Adidas, but that's not how it's actually pronounced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't remember the actual pronunciation, but it's not Adidas.
How is it actually
Adidas
pronounced? Do you know?
I don't remember. I would have to look it up.
That's interesting. Yeah, I agree with you. This could be just an Americanized thing. We tend to butcher some of the foreign languages when we integrate words. So yeah, we tend to butcher quite a few things actually. So that's where some of our English words came from, were butchered versions of other words. So yeah, I don't think this one's a Mandela effect. That's just mispronunciation.
Oh, Addis. Addis is how Adidas should be pronounced.
Ah, gotcha.
I don't think that it's, or something like that. I'm trying to remember now. Without actually playing it, like on something, I'm not exactly sure, but I know that people like in the UK, they do not pronounce it Adidas. They look at us funny for pronouncing it that way.
Mm-hmm. They think we're weird for pronouncing it like anything the way it is, and also they think we butcher what they believe was originally their language, which is English, the British version. They think we butchered it.
Spelling of the...
Yeah. So the chocolate doesn't really. That to me is not a Mandela effect.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
No, I agree with you on that one.
I think that is all that they had. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually very interesting.
Either way, that was still a pretty interesting video. There's a lot of that stuff that caught me by surprise for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and we didn't even get to touch on any of the mimic or doppelganger stuff, but I feel like we could almost do a whole show on that stuff.
Yeah, we can always save that. We can save that for another show.
Maybe even the next episode. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. The Mandela effect, like I said in the beginning, I mean, being as energetic sensitive as I am, and also to changes like even in the Schumann resonance, where people are saying when they feel strange one day, they see the Schumann resonance of the Earth popped up really high, got really loud, and some people feel feels like it's a deafening noise. I feel like what you said, Laura, about CERN. I feel it's also solar activity. I feel it's all these things combined, that people are feeling timeline interchanges. I feel all of that's true. And I seem to recall there's one quick thing I'll mention is from a video I watched privately that you shared with both of you shared with me, or we shared with each other, was about the Mandela effect, about somebody who some neighbors of theirs had just disappeared. And a friend of ours that lived in Colorado had the same identical thing happen. Every Christmas Eve, they would go visit their friends in Colorado Springs that ran a business. Well, they went to the same shop. different people were there that had been there for like 30 plus years, didn't know who the hell they were talking about. Our friends had a business card proving that that business had been there. Their friends were nowhere to be found on this timeline or anywhere else. They were completely missing people at that point, and nobody knew who the hell they were. So we've met people that have actually experienced the Mandela effect to that extreme.
That's crazy. That maybe
Yeah.
that could
would be
also
really
be
weird.
something we could talk about too, because that's wild.
Yeah, that is extremely wild. Yeah, they were calling us in a panic, thinking we could answer them. I'm like, you got me on that one. I just feel it's a timeline jump, but that's a very severe one at that point.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I don't know. And there's
Never
some
saw
of these
it
that
either.
I have no idea how. I kind of wonder also if some of it isn't. Now this is almost the conspiracy side of me, but I've also kind of low key wondered if some of it has been changed by our government, you know, and they're doing it just to see if anybody actually notices, and if we do notice, how many people notice, just to see what they can get by with, you know?
A social experiment. Yeah, social experiment.
Mhm.
Yeah. I agree with you there. There's some of those things on social media going on. I know that for a fact. Like the three-letter agencies I know are running some of these other smaller experiments like that. And some of the larger ones, they want to see how people react to certain stimuli, like what they did with the whole LSD testing back with the MK Ultra stuff and everything. They still do that to this day, but they're more subtle about it when they do it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah, it does happen. It does happen. Me and Joanna have looked into that quite extensively. So do I believe some of these things are them doing this? Yes, and they just kind of made the Mandela effect cover. But I know I seem to feel when there's a timeline change in something, you just kind of know intuitively when there's something. But do I put it past like the CIA or somebody else pulling this off too? No, I don't put it past them in the slightest.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, they've already come up with ways to brainwash people. And so I wouldn't put it past them, I guess, to attempt to try to brainwash the majority of mass numbers of people. Um, you know, take for instance, I mean, the name Mandela Effect comes from Nelson Mandela, and I distinctly remember him dying in the 80s or 90s. I
Yes. So.
remember them talking about it in school. And then when he passed away in the 2000s, I don't remember exactly when, I was like, wait, he was still alive?
I
I
think it
thought
was
he died.
2012.
That's what I was gonna say, was I thought it was around that time, but I'm bad with dates, so um but yeah, when I heard that I was like, oh, he was still alive? I thought he died. I thought I
Mhm.
distinctly remember hearing he died. That was the whole part of the thing. But
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I distinctly remember, and you might know this Phantom as well. The actor that played King Orsic in Conan the Barbarian, Max von Sydow was the actor's name. I remember back in the 80s seeing his obituary. Then he pops up in one of the newer Star Wars movies, Force Awakens. He's a father figure in that I believe dies in the beginning of the movie. I'm going, okay, wait a minute. I saw your obituary back in the 80s, shortly after Conan the Barbarian came out. So I saw Mandela Effect with him too. So you wonder how many other times this has happened that's gone unnoticed too by us.
Yeah, so there's one that I don't remember that one, but there's one I remember. You remember Julie Strain, right? She did
Mhm.
voice acting for the Heavy Metal 2000 movie. I
Mhm.
distinctly remember them talking about her passing away in like as early as like 2008 or something like that. But no, it turns out it's 2021, so it was recent.
Hmm. Interesting. I think I remember you even mentioning this quite a while ago, and then it happened again. So I remember you mentioning it then in 2008, I believe. So yeah, that seems like it's a Mandela effect because I don't remember seeing anything about her dying in 2021, but I remember the 2008 one.
Yeah,
So,
well, if you Google it, she passed away in 2021.
Yeah, interesting.
And I don't remember reading anything about it, but I remember looking it up one time because I don't remember who I was talking to about it. And I looked it up. I'm like, 2021? No, it was way before that.
Yeah, that is quite interesting. And also about the Max von Sydow thing, my father still had the printed obituary. He still has this, too. I'll see if he can dig it up sometime. But he still has the printed obituary of Max von Sydow from the 80s.
That would be interesting to see. I'd be curious to see that.
Yeah, I would too. I'm gonna have to see if he still remembers where it is. But yeah, he showed it to me one time because he couldn't believe that the actor was still alive. He's like, "Huh? The guy from Conan?" I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Yeah, right here," and he showed it to me.
Interesting.
So yeah.
Well, I believe that it was, might be wrong, but I believe it was Dolores Cannon, who, she's a well-known psychic, and she said that and this was early, several years ago, when the Mandela effect really kind of began to take hold in the social media and that. And I kind of remember her saying, like, yes, we're going to begin to hear about it. It's going to be a one-off here and there, and people are going to think that, oh, they just remembering things wrong. And then she's like, it's going to ramp up, and it's going to continue to just get more and more bizarre. And she's like, that's because there's this hole that CERN had, or the government, I guess, had ripped open, and they don't know how to close it. And because this hole is made up, these doorways are made up of energy, it just initially just keeps opening up more and more rips into these other dimensions, and it just keeps going deeper and deeper. And so what it's doing is it's just causing more and more Mandela effects. And she's like, it'll get to the point where we'll have a piece of paper in our hand with 2 or 3 words on it for whatever reason. Like maybe we have a shopping list and it says, apple, bananas, water, I don't know. And then we get to the store and it's changed to milk, cookies, carrots, and she's like, it'll literally just change with us just blinking. And we'll be like, wait a second, didn't we need apples and bananas?
Very much like that video, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I have noticed that it's kind of ramped up like that.
So we'll definitely have to stay vigilant and keep an eye on things. And yeah, well, I mean, I guess we could write stuff down, but it may not, we could write it down, but that might not do any good.
Yeah, it's sort of weird.
Yeah, I've noticed that with some things in my own notebooks where I've written an address down numerous times. And I've written it down in a notebook I have for addresses and things of that nature. And then I'll go to look at it in the notebook, and it's as if I never wrote it, and stuff I wrote after it is on the next line underneath, where in between that would have been, where I would have written it. So I have already noticed it. It's not that common that I've seen it, but I have actually seen it, and then somebody will accuse me of going, oh, you just don't remember doing it, you just forget stuff. And it's like, yeah, that might be true, but at the same time, I'm not this stupid. I wouldn't have written it, and then all of a sudden this changes.
You
so
sure?
That means
you sure about that?
You
sure about that?
Pretty much, yes. Except when you guys decided to, you meaning you, Phantom, decided to play practical jokes on me with my keys. So, yes.
You're welcome, buddy.
Yep, right back at you, buddy. But yeah, there are times, yes, I do forget crap. Yes, I do. But I notice there's certain distinct things of that nature where some lists will change. So I agree with Dolores Cannon on that one because I've been witness to it. It just hasn't happened that much, just once or twice.
It was either Dolores Cannon that had mentioned it, or it was something Sylvia Brown had said before she passed. I I can't remember now which one, but I follow both of those ladies
Could have been both of
relatively
them. Yeah, it could
closely,
have been both.
and uh, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know, but I feel like there is something to it, and
I agree. No, there is, because I've been following Mandela stuff for a long time now, and the more I've been following it, more and more people are coming out with videos talking about it. The crazier it's getting. So it's kind of like you said, Laura, like it's ramping up.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't have too much more to add unless you two do.
No,
I
I
do
think
not. Thank you, everyone, for watching. What is your favorite Mandela effect? I'm always curious to hear new. There were several on that video that I was really shocked by that I had never heard before, so I'm glad we played it because
Me too. Yeah, like especially that Lincoln one that threw me for a loop.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, the Lincoln one. Yeah, there were the Black Ops.
That Black
I don't
Ops
even
one
play
is still
Black Ops, but I swear to God, it was a gun.
Yeah, no, that's still
Yeah,
messing
me
with me
too.
right now. Like I'm really freaked
I
out.
owned that. I owned that box. So yeah, that
I
was a
still
gun.
have it. I still have it.
And then you said it changed for you too. Like I said, you could have jumped timelines, but it didn't. Evidently. So
Well, why am I in this timeline?
Yeah, well, people, from what I understand, people jump the timelines associated with it or frequency they're dialed into. So whatever they happen to match, the timeline matches where they happen to be, where it just aligns. It's the physics of it, from what I understand it anyway. There may be more to it than that, but yeah.
That's what I've heard as well. It kind of boils down to the whole 5D, 3D stuff, and just overall, I guess, your your energy level, not physically, but emotional.
Right.
Whatever you happen to be dialed in, that's the timeline you're on. Now, there are more extreme cases where, like, if you've done an appropriate amount of, like, say, shadow work, for instance, where you've gotten rid of some really nasty, gnarly junk out of your energy, all of a sudden you feel a jolt. I feel that person's just jumped a timeline at that point. So, I mean, majorly, everybody kind of shifts, but then you feel the really extreme ones, or you see the really extreme ones, like with your game box there. So, yeah, that also, I will look through my photos before the next show that we do and see my Lincoln memorial photos if the hand is the same or not.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see that for sure.
Yeah, I'll definitely look through those over the next week.
All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and end the stream. Thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you all next Friday.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye. Take it easy.